and welcome tonight. 24 hours after designating kidnapping as an act of terrorism, the Senate begins the process of amending the nation's Terrorism Act. Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun directs the implementation of intelligence-led policing to address the nation's security challenges. President Bola Tinubu approves composition of the U.S.-Nigeria Working Group, appointing National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu as team lead for Nigeria. And Vladimir Putin doubles down on his demand for Ukrainian territory ahead of talks with the U.S. in Moscow.
On business news, the National Insurance Commission sets July 2026 deadline for issuing licenses to issuance and reissuance companies that meet the new minimum capital requirement.
On sports news tonight, Tunisia beat Nigeria's the Tigers 88-78 in overtime in the Group C opener of the FIBA World Cup African qualifier.
And from the nation's capital, bandits launched deadly attack in Shiroro local government area of Niger State, abducting 24 farmers.
We begin from the National Assembly, where the Senate has commenced the process of amending the nation's Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act as lawmakers pass the amendment bill through first reading during plenary. The bill, sponsored by the Senate leader, Senator Okpeyemi Bamidele, follows resolutions reached just 24 hours earlier when senators, during a heated debate on national insecurity, agreed on the need to classify kidnapping as a terrorist offense punishable by the death penalty. Our National Assembly correspondent, Gloria Umezoke, reports.
Lawmakers reconvene for the final plenary of the week, with the nation's raging security challenges still dominating discussions. Barely 10 days ago, when a fresh assault on schools began in Kebbi State, lawmakers in the upper chamber expressed outrage, questioning whether funds allocated to the Safe Schools initiative were properly utilized.
We know now the schools are not protected. What happened to the money?
A resolution was adopted to begin an investigation into the matter, and during plenary, the President of the Senate announced the Constitution.
The proposed ad hoc committee to investigate the Safe School initiative, funding, expenditure, matters arising and otherwise. The Distinguished Senator Ojo Zokalo will serve as chairman, I think, to make it comprehensive, to make it a 13-man committee. I would like to put Distinguished Senator Sahabi Yao as member. And they are to work and report back to the Senate in 4 weeks.
By the same token, and in keeping with a resolution adopted hours ago, the Senate passed the Terrorism Act through first reading. Principally, the bill focuses on classifying kidnapping as terrorism, imposing the maximum penalty of death. Separately, the Senate's Joint Committee on Finance, Customs and Excise Duty considered in a public hearing a bill seeking to increase excise duty on carbonated sugar sweetened beverages in the country.
The current excise duty of 10 naira per litre on non-alcoholic carbonated sugar sweetened beverages was introduced at a time when our economic realities were significantly different from what they are today.
There is a need to direct part of the excise duties and from the items mentioned to the health sector. The most important thing is what percentage.
The Minister of Health, who appeared alongside top government officials, gave backing to the bill.
We recommend, and our prayer to this committee is to increase the current SSB excise tax from 10 naira per litre to at least 20% of the retail price, which is recommended by World Health Organization.
The Senate has also confirmed former federal lawmaker Honorable Ayo Omidiran as the executive chairman of the Federal Character Commission, alongside 37 commissioners representing the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. Gloria Umezoke, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, at the Green Chamber, the House of Representatives has concluded its three-day debate on national security, commending President Bola Tinubu for declaring a national emergency on the matter. The lawmakers are also calling for more effective management of the security situation across the country. Our National Assembly correspondent, Terry Kumi, now reports.
Members of the House of Representatives resumed for the final plenary session dedicated to debating insecurity across the country, with the Deputy Speaker updating members on the declaration of state of emergency on security by the President.
Some of the conversations that you're having in this room reflected in the declaration of Mr. President. While this conversation is still going on, I know most of you were worried whether the resolutions of this House will be activated by the executive. But I'm happy to announce that while we are yet conversing, before coming to our resolution, this administration is listening and they are making declarations that is pointing towards the right direction of the mindset of the Parliament.
Suggestions and contributions pouring from members as with previous days.
We can no longer sleep with our eyes closed. We can no longer travel to other states to see our loved ones. And the problem now is, what do we do? And I hereby suggest my recommendations. Number one, to strengthen intelligence gathering through community-based reporting and improved interagency coordination.
Amend the Constitution to allow for state and local policing under a strong national regulatory framework to prevent abuse. Pass a comprehensive national security reform bill to clarify mandates and enhance coordination and institutionalize joint operations.
To, as a matter of urgency, introduce security as a major subject in our primary schools. This is to teach our children basic safety awareness, because we don't know what those people are teaching their children. Majority of the people apprehended are 13, 14, 15 years old.
Representative Bello El-Rufai raises concerns around inconsistent court judgments and why terrorism seems to entice young people.
There was a conviction recently of a terrorist, Boko Haram. I believe his name is Husseini Ismail. He was convicted for 20 years by a high court. He was a Boko Haram terrorist. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was convicted, I think, last week, and his own conviction said life sentence. I don't understand why one terrorist is getting 20 years and the other is getting a life sentence if you're saying that. Mr. Speaker, these young people go on TikTok and see a criminal holding minted cash. It's suddenly exciting. You want to emulate him. I also would like to implore all of us here, this is not a time for weddings, for events, as you rightly said, for dinners or public. You know, we should show that.
Time up, Honorable Rufai. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
The House concludes the security debate and is expected to make a compilation of resolutions following suggestions from members. Meanwhile, the House is to dedicate the plenary sessions next week to debate the constitution amendment bills ahead of voting on the 10th of December, as announced by the Deputy Speaker. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
While the nation continues to grapple with insecurity, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetokun, has ordered operatives of the Niger Police to adopt proactive, intelligence-led strategies in security operations in order to ensure a safer Nigeria. Addressing senior police officers at a conference in Abuja, Mr. Egbetokun announced the withdrawal and redeployment of more than 11,000 officers currently assigned to VIP duties in line with the directive of President Bola Tinubu.
Inspector General of Police is meeting with senior officers in Abuja barely one day after President Bola Tinubu declared a state of emergency on national security and directed security agencies to boost manpower and presence.
A round of applause for the IGP, please.
The IGP in his address admits that Nigeria is battling complex and multi-dimensional security threats and challenges that have stretched the nation's policing capacity and exposed systemic gaps in internal security.
All stand as grim reminders that a single breach anywhere is a disruption of peace everywhere in Nigeria. These incidents, though swiftly and professionally responded to, have created a momentary impression in some quarters that we are not working. We may not be doing enough, but definitely it is not that we are not working. We must hold ourselves to a higher standard. We have no excuses. We will not relent until all our vulnerable communities are protected against the attacks of bandits.
Determined to ensure a fundamental shift in approach from reactive policing to predictive and proactive security deployment driven by intelligence gathering and community-based cooperation, the recall of 11,566 police personnel currently assigned to VIP protection duties is announced.
11,566 policemen are engaged in VIP protection as at today in Nigeria Police Force. Of course, this is not the first time we are implementing this type of directives. Recently, I gave instruction that policemen should be withdrawn from private individuals, and those private individuals desirous of police protection should reapply, because we saw the need to profile these individuals that are applying for police protection.
As senior officers enforce the withdrawal of policemen assigned to VIP protection duties back to the front line, the Inspector General of Police believes this will boost patrol visibility and response capacity, while strengthening community partnerships in intelligence gathering.
A former secretary to the government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, is asking the federal government to pursue diplomatic channels and sustained engagements to address issues arising from U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. Mr. Mustafa made the appeal during a news conference ahead of the 45th anniversary celebration of the Nigerian Law School class of 1980 in Abuja.
You are welcome to this press briefing. A lot of things happen in the diplomatic climb behind the doors. It's not for media consumption. And eventually, we got Biden in 2021 to delist us. I expect that is what is ongoing now. And I believe that there should be less of noise and more of engagement. President Buhari will always remind me that America has a big stick. And if they hit your head with it, the headache will never disappear. In his lighter moods, he would always remind me that caution in dealing with superpowers is important. Constant engagement, political back-end engagements, and leveraging friendship globally is equally important in the resolution of the issues now. We'll resolve it. Nigeria is a great country. We're 230 million people. If anything happens to this country, if we explode and just walk across West Africa, we eat up all the food. And there will be starvation. People will die of starvation by our sheer number. So even globally, the world is not interested in the breakup of Nigeria. I can tell you that, because they know the enormity of the problems.
In part two, after the break, President Tinubu approves composition of the U.S.-Nigeria working group, appointing National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu as team lead for Nigeria. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. 24 hours after designating kidnapping as an act of terrorism, the Senate begins the process of amending the nation's Terrorism Act. Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun directs the implementation of intelligence-led policing to address the nation's security challenges. President Bola Tinubu approves composition of the U.S.-Nigeria Working Group, appointing National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu as team lead for Nigeria. And Vladimir Putin doubles down on his demand for Ukrainian territory ahead of talks with the U.S. in Moscow. President Bola Tinubu has approved the constitution of the Nigerian side of the U.S.-Nigeria Joint Working Group as part of steps to deepen collaboration in tackling security challenges in the country. The composition of the Joint Working Group was part of the agreement reached during the recent trip to Washington, D.C. by a high-level Nigerian delegation led by the National Security Advisor, Mr. Nuhu Ribadu. A statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, says the NSA, Mr. Ribadu, is to lead the Nigerian side of the Joint Working Group. He will be supported by a multi-stakeholder team comprising senior officials from relevant government establishments. The statement further lists members of the Joint Working Group to include the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tugar, Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badru, the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Bernard Doro, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Oluyede, and Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, Ambassador Mohammed, and the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetokun. Mr. Diet Hassan of the Office of the National Security Advisor and Mr. Paul Alabi of the Embassy of Nigeria in the U.S. will serve as the Secretariat. President Tinubu is urging members of the Joint Working Group to work with their U.S. counterparts to ensure smooth operationalization of all agreements across sectors. So let's now head to the nation's capital, and Millicent Walker is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Over to you, Millicent.
Many thanks, Ayatunde. And we continue here with security, where no fewer than 24 persons, including pregnant women, have been abducted from a rice farm in Paliata community, Erena Ward of Shiroro local government area of Niger State. According to a source in the community, the attack occurred on Wednesday afternoon when armed bandits launched another attack while residents were busy harvesting their crops. Paliata is said to be about 5 kilometers from a military base in Erena Ward, where the attackers reportedly fled with the victims before security personnel could respond. In a separate incident earlier of the same day, another group of bandits invaded Kakuru community, also in Erena Ward, where they brutalized a blind resident and severed the right hand of the victim after collecting a mobile phone from him. The State Police Command explains that efforts are ongoing to rescue the victims. Well, in the nation's capital, the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike has pledged to pay compensation to property owners along the right-of-way of the ongoing road construction in Karu district. While expressing delight over the level of work so far, the FCT Minister explains that the compensations are being made out of his administration's graciousness in spite of the properties being erected on a waterway. Meanwhile, Mr. Wike disclosed that he has revoked the initial contract of the Akpo-Karshi Road project and signed a new contract for its construction.
We have terminated our contract. I can award it to SCC. If you go there now, you see that they've started a work. It's a road that so many people are very interested because it will decongest some of these areas. So we feel it, and that's why, like I said, we can't continue to play politics when it concerns the welfare of the people. When we went to Caron, you remember the first time I went to Caron to flag off, it was one road. And there I made a promise that all the other connecting roads will be included. I'm very happy to report the progress of the job. The contractor is doing very, very well, very, very well. And that shows it's one of the projects we are going to line up for the 30th anniversary of Mr. President. I'm quite impressed. And those houses that block the waterway, water channel, we are going to bring them down to enable water has its own way. You cannot build something to block the water channel. And we were even sympathetic by saying that we are going to give you money, but we must allow the water to have its way, because if flood, it will cause a lot of flooding. that will also not be good for the people living around there.
Now to some company news. Renaissance Africa Energy and its joint venture partners have donated $300,000 to support cancer treatment at the National Hospital Abuja while improving radiotherapy services for cancer patients. The announcement was made by the Managing Director of Renaissance Africa Energy, Mr. Tony Atta, during a presentation at the Federal Ministry of Health. Our correspondent Benny Ark has more.
The National Hospital of Abuja has received a significant boost in its cancer care services, with Renaissance Africa Energy and its joint venture partners, led by NNPC Limited, donating $300,000 to support the service level agreement for the linear accelerator radiotherapy machines. The presentation was attended by the Minister of Health, the Chief Medical Director of the National Hospital, top management team of Renaissance Africa Energy, NNPCL, among other partners.
Thank you, Coordinating Minister.
According to the hospital, the machine has been used to treat over 2,000 patients, cut costs by 80%, and reduced therapy time from 12 minutes to 2 since 2019. The partners are hoping that the donation will keep the state-of-the-art machine fully functional.
For us, this SLA is really an opportunity to ensure the sustainability, functionality, and of course the continuous operation of the radiotherapy system and everything. So I would say let us work together to ensure that the fight against cancer and everything that is health-based in Nigeria is not only sustained, but we win.
This commitment is more than just operational. It is our strategic investment in accessible, high-quality healthcare, and it underscores our dedication to the long-term sustainability of cancer treatment services in Nigeria.
The Chief Medical Director of the National Hospital described the support as a critical boost to the facility's oncology services.
We will be very, very judicious with that amount. We will be very innovative in how to manage that amount. As soon as you give us that money, I assure you we'll send the whole of it to JNCI so that they would continue what they've been doing.
The Minister of Health commended the partnership, calling it a model for sustainable healthcare development.
Healthcare is not cheap, and President Tinubu has focused on investing in healthcare. But given the state of our economy, that investment clearly will take time before we get the resources that we can provide, like NHS in the UK. So when private actors like you step in, you are really extending your hands, joining to build the health system that we want in this country. So we must appreciate you very deeply.
The partners reiterated their commitment to supporting Nigeria's health system and expanding access to quality cancer care. They urged more stakeholders to join efforts to build a stronger and more inclusive healthcare sector. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
And Nigeria's drive to boost crude oil production received a major boost as the Minister of State for Petroleum, Heineken Lopebiri, that's oil, toured Petrolon 54's rapidly expanding Dawes Island facility in Rivers State. During the visit, highlighting new wells, increased output and renewed investor confidence, the minister stated that Petrolon's progress demonstrates the critical role marginal field operators can play in strengthening Nigeria's energy future. Our correspondent Charles Oporum reports.
Just 30 minutes on the water from the NNS Pathfinder base in Port Harcourt to reach Petrolon 54's Dawes Island facility in Okrika, a remote industrial outpost that's fast becoming one of the brightest stories in Nigeria's upstream revival. Here, the Minister of State for Petroleum, Oil, Heineken Lopebiri, tours an ultra-modern operation, accompanied by the company's leadership and regulators. What he sees impresses him. A private indigenous firm, not only holding a license, but producing, expanding, and proving that Nigeria's marginal fields can deliver real value.
To use this company, Petrolon, as an example, to order licensees. A few years ago, about 60 persons were given licenses, but very few of them, have been able to drill, to find oil. So I'm here today to encourage Petrolon and to do whatever the government can do to encourage them to do more.
Between April and October, the company drilled a well, now producing 2,000 barrels per day, while a second well, is set to push output toward 5,000 barrels per day when completed, a clear signal of its long-term commitment to Nigeria's energy future.
In April of this year, we spotted the first well, which you can see behind us. That wellhead is the DI2 well. And we spotted that well in April, drilled the well to completion, completed the well on the 20th of July, and commenced production on that well, or extended well testing, with approvals from our regulator, the NUPRC, on the 18th of October. And since 18th of October, we have been producing circa 2,000 barrels a day on that first well. Now, the license conditions for extension of a license were to drill one well and meet a minimum capex commitment with drill or drop clause as per the PIA. We drilled the one well and completed it by July. But we didn't stop there. Said we drilled one well, let's go to sleep. We immediately set about drilling a second well. And today you witnessed behind us there the spotting today of the second well, consecutive well this year, which is the DI3 well, which is spotted today.
This progress has not gone unnoticed. Petrolon's efficiency and growth trajectory stand out in the sector, enough for the Africa Export-Import Bank to structure a $50 million financial instrument to accelerate its expansion plans.
So as an African Exim Bank, we are pushing and promoting African participation, and that is why we are working with Petrolon to work with them to bring this asset on stream and to be able to ramp up their production quickly, up to 5,000 barrels per day, as you have just witnessed today with the spotting of the third well. At the moment, we are considering up to $50 million in support, which are going through the final approvals, of which we're still at credit appraisal stage, and that is why it was important for us to come and visit today, along with our colleagues from Cairo.
With approvals from the NUPRC, Petrolon has drilled one successful well, the DI2, and has started work on the DI3 well. It is now producing and processing high-quality crude at a current output of about 2,000 barrels per day. And by 2027, it plans to drill at least 4 wells, tripling current capacity and cementing Petrolon's rising footprint in Nigeria's upstream sector. Charles Oporum, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, it's a July 2026 deadline by the National Insurance Commission that is set issuing licenses to insurance and reinsurance companies that meet the new minimum capital requirements. That's coming up on Business News. Please join us again.
Welcome back. Skincare giant Nivea has launched a new consumer campaign, the Win Your Share of 3 billion Naira promo, aimed at rewarding loyal customers and attracting new ones. According to the company's management, the initiative reflects Nivea's deep appreciation and care for its consumers, with participants standing a chance to win prizes, including a brand new car, a trip to Spain, and many more rewards.
We're extending the care now to our loyal consumers.
In its continued commitment to giving back to its consumers, Nivea, one of the world's leading skincare brands, has unveiled the Nivea Win Your Share of 3 billion Naira campaign, a promotional initiative to reward loyal consumers and attract new customers, which will run up until March 2026.
The prizes are designed to just encourage people to participate at all levels. Everybody's going to win something. So at the very, very least, you will win airtime. And the airtime is not only for one network, it is for all networks.
The country manager of BSDOF Nigeria, Dele Adeyole, reiterates the company's care and appreciation for its consumers through this campaign.
This is another way for us to show care for the Nigerian consumer that has stuck with us and make Nivea the #1 undisputed brand in Nigeria for so long. And it's our way of just giving back. Especially in this festive season, this is the best time to give back, right? And we are putting 3 billion Naira investment on the table to say thank you for sticking with Nivea.
The company management rolls out more information on participation in this offer.
At the end of the promotion, we would have had 120 people that would have won 1 million Naira per week, as well as 600 people that would have gotten the 50,000 Naira voucher. And at the end, we will take all all the entries that have participated through the duration of the promotion and reward them as follows. One person will win 5 million naira, somebody else will win 3 million naira, and the last person will win 2 million naira. In addition to this, we'll be giving away 3 SUVs to lucky winners, and last but not least, we will be flying 10 people to Spain to go and watch Real Madrid live.
So for every shopper that buys and enjoys the airtime, you can only participate 3 times for the draw. But for the airtime, it's as many bottles that you buy once you scratch, you enjoy 1,000 airtime.
All it takes is to purchase any Nivea product that has the promo stickers, scratch the panel for a pin, text the pin to the code 7022, the unique pin hashtag, to win these prizes.
So overall, we are really committed in Nigeria as a market, and since Nigerian consumers have rewarded us their loyalty, we also need to reward them back by making sure that in this festive period, they have something to smile about.
Nivea, a brand with more than 130 years experience, is deeply rooted in the values of unity and inclusivity, with over 50 products available in more than 170 countries around the world.
Budweiser Royale has officially arrived in Nigeria. The iconic American lager variant was unveiled in Lagos at an event themed All Rise, which drew traditional rulers, notable personalities and leaders from both the private and public sectors. Carlos Coutinho, business unit president for Nigeria, expressed the brand's excitement at introducing Budweiser Royale to the country, building on Budweiser's presence in the Nigerian market since 2018.
The atmosphere is one of fanfare and exquisite elegance as royal fathers and high-profile personalities from diverse walks of life arrive for the launch of the bold-flavored Budweiser Royal Premium Lager Beer, looking like royalty.
We believe that Nigeria and Nigerians deserve nothing less than world-class products. We believe that our consumers should feel proud of what they drink, and proud of where it has been made.
One of the traditional rulers and chairman of the event, the Obi of Onitsha, praised Budweiser for its timeless craftsmanship and modern sophistication.
As we celebrate the meeting of tradition and innovation, a confluence of timeless craftsmanship and modern sophistication.
Budweiser is brewed with the finest ingredients, including barley malt, rice hops, and yeast, giving it a unique, refreshing taste. The master brewer takes guests through the brewing process, highlighting the quality and care that goes into every bottle of Budweiser, laying emphasis on the newly invented Budweiser Royal.
Budweiser Royale is brewed for those who aspire for greatness, who live boldly and who create lasting memories with friends and family. As we raise our glasses tonight, please join me. Let us toast to innovation, excellence, and the pursuit of a shared dream. Here's to Budweiser Royale, crafted for greatness, celebrated by all.
The highly anticipated unveiling of Budweiser Royal grabs the attention of all. The moment perfectly captures the essence of this legendary lager.
Budweiser is an international premium lager from the stable of AB InBev. And for Budweiser Royale, it came about because our plan is to elevate from the premium to the super premium in such a way that will bring our consumers bold flavors while retaining the smoothness that Budweiser as a brand is known for.
Brewing a beer of this quality, we went through different and rigorous milestones to ensure we're able to craft a beer that delivers on this level of sophistication and super premiumness.
With its crisp and clean flavor profile, the company says Budweiser Royal is perfect for warm weather, casual gatherings, or any time the desire to indulge in a great beer arises.
Business News is up next with Dominic Iwiwu.
Thank you, Ayotunde. On business news, the National Insurance Commission, NICOM, has set July next year as deadline for the issuance of license to insurance and reinsurance companies that meet the new minimum capital requirements. The Commissioner for Insurance, Mr. Olusegun Omiseyin, who made this known in a statement, says the timeline, which coincides with the industry recapitalization deadline, is to ensure effective implementation of the Nigerian Insurance Industry Reform Act 2025. He added that the Commission would commence risk-based capital implementation for companies that have fulfilled the MCR with adequate transition timelines given for compliance at the expiration of the deadline. And now the federal government has secured over $2 billion in new investments on the back of sweeping power sector reforms driven by the Electricity Act 2023. And this is according to the Minister of Power, Mr. Adebayo Adelabu. He made this known today at PwC's annual Power and Utilities Roundtable 2025 in Lagos, where he delivered the keynote address. The minister explained that the inflow of fresh investments reflects growing investor confidence in the federal government's current policy direction. He also mentioned that the country recorded a 70% surge in power sector revenue last year. Now, air travel into Bayelsa State entered a new chapter today as the state government launched its first official commercial flight into the state-owned airport. For residents and business travelers who have endured years of skeletal services, today's ceremony marks a bold push towards full operational status and regional connectivity. The inaugural flight from Abuja to Yenagoa drew government officials, industry players, and jubilant citizens celebrating what many describe as a historic turning point.
Bayelsa is launching its own airline, commercial air service. I'm delighted to stand before you for you to see with your own eyes the ATR 72-600 aircraft, each configured, as you heard from the MD, to carry 72 passengers and crew members. One is on ground. The other one will be on his way very soon. Before Christmas, this commercial airline must be functional.
Still with Nigeria's aviation industry development, Akwa Ibom State government has secured the federal government's approval for full operation of international flights at the Victor Atta International Airport in Uyo. The state governor, Pastor Umo Eno, made this known today shortly after the deal was sealed at a strategic meeting he had with the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Mr. Festus Keyamo. With this approval, the airport can now receive and process international airlines, operates cross-border flights, and serve as a direct international gateway linking Akwa Ibom to destinations across Africa and the wider world. Governor Eno assured that international flight operations will commence fully in the first quarter of next year following the approval. It's a mild recovery today for the domestic equities market after a recorded moderate loss in Wednesday's trading as investors cherry-picked some high-value stocks. Ladi Williams tells us more.
Welcome to the Stock Market Report. At the close of trade today, we got the second green close for the last trading week of November. Just a 12 basis points rise there. And, looking at the data, we see it's less volume and value of trades there, signaling, caution from investors. And maybe this gain is not that strong and sustainable, might not go into tomorrow. Market moving now, we see MTN Nigeria gained 1% today. So that's showing, price gains in a few large stocks there, driving the all-share index up today, 417 naira. That was the close. So tomorrow, 28th of November, Nigeria's capital market makes a major shift as T+2 settlement cycle goes live, meaning when you buy or sell a stock in 2 working days, it's settled.
Alrighty, with that, we end business news, taking a look at the closing figures of some major global stock markets for Thursday. And that's it on Business News. Back to Ayotunde for the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Dominic. Let's now head to our London studios with Simon Pusey in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. At least 65 people have been killed in a huge fire that engulfed multiple high-rise buildings in Hong Kong, the city's deadliest blaze in more than 70 years. Some residents remain trapped inside the buildings, with more than 270 people unaccounted for, while 70 people have been injured. Hundreds of firefighters have been tackling the blaze, which is now largely under control at all of the affected buildings in Wong Fuk Court. The housing complex had been undergoing extensive renovations when the fire began. The exact cause is unclear, but police say materials on outside of the buildings may have facilitated its spread. 3 construction company executives have been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter and gross negligence.
Debris and scaffolding of the affected buildings are falling down, so pose additional danger to our frontline personnel. Besides, the temperature inside the buildings concerned are very high, so it's quite difficult for us to enter the building and go upstairs to conduct firefighting and rescue operation.
The US has suspended processing all immigration requests from Afghans after an Afghan man was identified as the suspect in the shooting of 2 National Guard soldiers near the White House. The US Citizenship and Immigration Services said the decision was made pending a review of security and vetting protocols. The suspect of Wednesday's shooting, which left 2 National Guard members critically injured, is said to have arrived in the US from Afghanistan in September 2021. US President Donald Trump said the attack was an act of terror, adding that he would take steps to remove foreigners from any country who does not belong here.
This attack underscores the single greatest national security threat facing our nation. The last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world, from places that you don't want to even know about. No country can tolerate such a risk to our very survival.
A limited form of military service will be reintroduced in France in response to growing fears of a confrontation with Russia. More than 25 years after conscription was phased out, the plan will see young men and women volunteering for a paid 10 months military training. The new national service will be brought in gradually from next summer, mainly for 18 and 19-year-olds who will receive at least $800 a month. An army general has been sworn in as Guinea-Bissau's new head of state a day after an apparent coup. General Horta Tam becomes the transitional president for a period of 1 year. He took the oath on Thursday in brief and muted proceedings in army headquarters. The military had already suspended the electoral process and blocked the release of the results of Sunday's presidential election, which were expected on Thursday. Some civil society groups in Guinea-Bissau have accused outgoing President Umaro Sissoko Embalo of masterminding a simulated coup against himself with the help of the military, saying it was a ruse to block election results from coming out in case he loses. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has described as regrettable the announcement by US President Donald Trump that South Africa would not be invited to take part in next year's G20 summit in Florida. In a social media post, Trump said South Africa had refused to hand over the G20 presidency to a US embassy representative at last week's summit in Johannesburg. Members of the G20, a gathering of the world's biggest economies, do not need an invite but can possibly be barred through visa restrictions. Pope Leo XIV has arrived in Turkey at the start of the first foreign trip of his papacy, where he will mark an historic Christian anniversary before heading to Lebanon, days after Israeli airstrikes on its capital, Beirut. As he travelled to Ankara, the Pope summed up the message of his trip by saying that all men, women can be truly brothers and sisters in spite of differences, in spite of different religions, in spite of different beliefs. Visits to both countries had originally been planned by the late Pope Francis, but the overarching theme, building bridges, is one Pope Leo has made his own from the moment he stepped on to the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica after his election. And many Thanksgiving travellers across the US are experiencing a white holiday as a winter storm leaves behind a fresh blanket of snow. In the Midwest, blizzard conditions have led to hazardous road collisions. Winter storm alerts and hazardous weather outlooks have been issued for parts of Michigan, Minnesota, Montana, North Dakota and Wisconsin. Another storm is expected on the 29th of November, which will bring additional snowfall to western and central states. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you so much, Simon. Now let's head to the world of sports and see what's happening as far as basketball is concerned. Nigeria's D Tigers are in the news. Chris, what can you tell us?
Well, thank you, Ayo, and welcome to Sports News. Host Tunisia beat Nigeria's D Tigers 88-78 in their opening campaign at the FIBA World Cup African qualifiers in a tough game that was decided in overtime earlier this evening. The game went in favor of the D Tigers 15-12 in the first quarter. The host rallied back to clinch the second quarter 23-17. Third quarter went to Nigeria 21-18. With the fourth quarter 2020, the game ended 73-73, and the winner had to be decided in overtime, with the Tunisians dominating 15-5 to win the match 88-78. Nigeria will return to the court on Saturday for their second group game against Guinea. And Rivers United head coach Finidi George says his side is fully ready to take on Moroccan giant RS Berkane in the CAF Champions League Group A clash at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium in Uyo on Friday. The Pride of Rivers will play host to the CAF Confederation Cup champions in their second Group A clash as they target their first win in the group. Rivers United lost to title holders Pyramids of Egypt in their opening group game in Cairo last week.
Our focus now is for the game we have tomorrow. We knew the few mistakes we made in Cairo, and then we paid for it. I don't think that will happen tomorrow. We have all the support. We'll make sure we put in that intensity, that focus, to make sure that we have the maximum 3 points. It's going to be a difficult game, but I think the game we played in Cairo has shown us a lot. So we don't want to make that mistake anymore.
Ancelotti has vowed to keep fighting, saying his conversations with Liverpool's owners have not changed despite his team's deep slump. The Premier League champions were hammered 4-1 at Anfield by PSV Eindhoven in the Champions League on Wednesday, their 9th defeat in their past 12 matches in all competitions. It is the worst run of form for the 20-time English champions in more than 70 years.
If you win or lose or draw, that you reflect on a game, which decisions have you made, what have you done during the week, all kind of usual things managers do if they win or lose. But maybe you do it a little bit more if you lose. You try to find the answer to what is needed to win a game of football, and in the end it's about doing what this club is about, is keep fighting, and no matter how difficult it is, we have to fight together. But it would also be nice if we would reward ourselves in the moments we play well, because people are very focused and correctly about the parts we don't play well, but there are definitely large parts of the games where we do play well.
Lando Norris says he is relaxed heading into the Qatar Grand Prix, the race in which he could become world champion for the first time. The McLaren driver heads teammate Oscar Piastri and Red Bull's Max Verstappen by 24 points. The Briton will become champion on Sunday if he can score 2 more points than both his rivals over the course of this weekend in Doha. And that sport is back to you, Ayo.
And the main news again. 24 hours after designating kidnapping as an act of terrorism, the Senate today began the process of amending the nation's Terrorism Act. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has directed the implementation of intelligence-led policing to address the nation's security challenges. President Bola Tinubu has approved the composition of the U.S.-Nigeria Working Group, appointing National Security Advisor Mr. Nuhu Ribadu as team lead for Nigeria. And Vladimir Putin is doubling down on his demand for Ukrainian territory ahead of talks with the U.S. in Moscow. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun, and do have a good night.